everyone. Welcome to my May wrap up. So, this month I really wanted to focus on books about motherhood because of Mother's Day. So, I've been saving some new releases from last year that I was very eager to get to. I saved them until this month. So, let's go ahead and get started. My first book was not about motherhood, but I was doing a buddy read with a friend of mine, Lily Ashtree, and we decided to read the main character because we both had arcs for it. This is a book that's coming out this month, or maybe it already came out. I should have looked it up, but I don't know when this book is being released. I'm sorry. But it's the main character by Jocelyn Goldis, and I was super excited for this book. I have not read her other book, The Chateau, but I do have it on my shelves. But after reading this one, I'm not sure I want to get to it anytime soon, to be honest. So, as you can tell, I didn't really like this one, but we'll get to that in just a second. I was very excited for this book. It had an amazing premise. It was supposed to be about this author, and she has like a weird way of going about structuring and plotting her books. She'll hire people to act them out, and she'll dig into like their lives and figure out different secrets they might have and puts them in her books. And so she hired this woman to come be her main character for her and gave her a lot of money. And then at the end, she'll give her a free trip on this Orient Express. I can't remember if it actually is the Orient Express or just something similar. But either way, I was excited that it was going to be kind of Agatha Christie-like, and I was excited for the premise because I like books about authors, and it was very unique sounding and everything. But unfortunately, I DNF'd this book at 20%. I just couldn't take it anymore. So nothing in the premise was really a part of this book because it sets up how the author does her plotting of her books, but all of that was already done. And so they're already on the train, which was like their free surprise for helping out. But I thought the train trip originally was going to be part of the author's journey about finding out these secrets and finding out ways to plot her novels, but the author's not even there. Or if she is, she doesn't come out of her room. And you don't get anything from her perspective except the prologue. Everything else is from somebody else's head. And I was under the mistaken impression that it was going to toggle back and forth between the author and the main character. But instead, we get the main character, which is fine and dandy, but we also get in the head of her best friend and like her ex-boyfriend and some other guy. I don't even remember. Her brother? Yeah, her brother. So we get in the heads of all of these people, and to be honest, I didn't want to be in any of the other heads because they didn't seem to be contributing much to the plot, and I just didn't like them. Mainly because this author cannot write men. She just can't. Being in the heads of these men, I'm like, this sounds exactly like a woman. You act and think like a woman. This is not a man's perspective. I'm sorry. And all of these supposed 30-year-olds were acting like dramatic, whiny teenagers. And it was aggravating. It was so annoying to be in their heads because they acted like kids. And I'm like, this is supposed to be an adult novel, but it reads like a bad YA novel. So I couldn't stand the writing style. I couldn't stand the being in all of these people's heads. I feel like there was too many perspectives, to be honest. I couldn't stand the characters. They were very unlikable. Me and Lily both feel like there was a plot twist that was pretty obvious from the very beginning. I didn't read ahead, so I don't know if I'm right, but I'm guessing that we are right. And I don't know, it's not for me. This one was just not for me. It was not working for me. And I felt so bad telling my friend that I wanted to DNF it, but I'm just like, I can already tell I'm not going to like this, and it's just going to be forced. So why even bother? So that's enough said about this book. The next book I read was Mothered by Soya Stage. And I read Baby Teeth last year, or maybe it was the year before. And it was okay. I didn't really like the writing style that much. It wasn't really my favorite. But luckily, the writing style is actually better in this one. So that was a pleasant surprise. I kind of put this one off because I didn't hear very good things about it, but it was called Mothered, so I thought this would be a good time to pick it up finally and see for myself. And it was just okay, to be honest. I'd probably give this 3 stars just because it wasn't like terrible, but it wasn't something I'm gonna wildly recommend either. So this is about a woman who she has a bad relationship with her mother, but her mother begs her to live with her because she has ailing health issues, and it's during the COVID time where we were supposed to be on lockdown, and she doesn't want to be on lockdown by herself. And what if something happens? And so she reluctantly agrees to have her mother come live with her, even though she's not happy about it. So it's not, I mean, it's about her relationship with her mother, but it's not. It's a lot to do with her twin sister who passed away. And so I felt like it was more to do with their relationship. And it was kind of frustrating because she kept talking about how much she didn't like her mom, but her mom was actually pleasant. Like there was nothing wrong with her mom. And so she's just like, oh, my mom, bleh. But like her mom was fine. Like there's nothing wrong with her. So I was like, okay. But we did get these dream sequences from her childhood, and her mom wasn't good during her childhood. But at the same time, I didn't know if we were supposed to take these dreams seriously because they were dreams. So I'm like, was her mom really like that? Because there was one dream in particular where she woke up and was like, oh, that didn't even happen. That didn't happen in my childhood, so why am I dreaming about that? But then like all the other dream sequences, it doesn't specifically say that they're fake, but that kind of plants the idea in your head that we're not supposed to take these dreams seriously. And if that's the case, then it makes those chapters kind of annoying because they're just dreams, so who cares? And if it's not supposed to make her mom unlikable, then why does she have such issues with her mom in the present? And so I thought that was a little bit confusing. And I don't know if it was supposed to make her an unreliable narrator. I don't know. But I didn't necessarily care for that. And then the first twist came, and it was completely predictable. I didn't think any differently, to be honest. And I didn't like all the talk about COVID because it's just not far enough in the past yet for me to really care to read about COVID. But I will say that by the end, it was kind of relevant to the plot, so I could forgive it. I hate it when books just have COVID and lockdown just because for no real reason than that the fact that it was written during COVID. But I don't know. So that drives me nuts. But it did by the end have a point, and I thought the last twist was pretty unique. It was a little bit weird, and I kind of had to sit and think about it for a minute to wrap my head around it. But it was interesting. It was unique. So I did enjoy the last twist. But a lot of the middle of this book was just kind of meandering and didn't really do much. Like, I don't know, like it wasn't terrible. I didn't actively hate this book, but like I said, it's not anything I fell in love with either. And it's probably something I'll forget about in 6 months. Take that for what you will. She also has a really weird hobby, and I won't tell you what that is, so you can discover it for yourself if you want to read this book. But it made her as a character pretty weird because I'm like, that is a really weird hobby. Like, I don't know why you would do that, but she thought she was doing good. She thought she was doing a nice deed, but I was just like, okay. Like, I don't know. I would give this probably 3 stars. I think I already said that, but in case I didn't, 3 stars. Then I read Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. This is my first book by this author. I do own Mary, but I haven't read it yet. And this is very Rosemary Baby-esque, which I love. I love Rosemary's Baby. It's phenomenal. If you like Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, you will love this book because it's very similar to Lock Every Door. So if you can't guess, this is about a couple, and the woman's pregnant, and they win this housing lottery in New York, and they get to go move to this swanky apartment that they could never afford otherwise. And they just fall in love with it. But it's on the top floor of the building, and she's actually in a wheelchair because she had difficult pregnancy and something went wrong during the delivery, and it ended up leaving her paralyzed. And she's like, I don't know if I can be at the top of this building and be in a wheelchair, because what if something happens to the elevator and I can't get out in case of a fire? but they decide that it's too good to be true and they can't pass up this opportunity and they decide to stay. But the neighbors are a little bit strange and something's going on with this building. But I just love the atmosphere. I love the vibes from this book. This is like Lock Every Door meets vampires. I don't know if telling you about vampires is considered a spoiler or not, but I feel like I need to say that because I want you to know what you're getting yourself into, because some people might go into something like this thinking it's going to be more of a thriller or something, and then bam, supernatural vibes, and some people don't like that. So, anyways, they're not really vampires. There's something else, but I'll let you discover that for yourself. But, anyways, I really enjoyed this book a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought it was so sad in the beginning. Like, the first half of this book was so sad. These people went through so much heartache and so much trials and tribulations, and vampires is honestly the least of their worries. But at the same time, I had some issues with the ending. She makes a choice that didn't quite make sense, and then she does something to her husband that I felt like was pretty callous, considering, because we did get to the perspective of the husband too, which I really enjoyed. Usually you just get the perspective of the wife. So I thought it was really good that we got to see both sides of it, that we got to see the husband and the wife. And I actually enjoyed the husband, and I thought he was a good guy, and I felt like she did something to him that was pretty callous, considering she pretty much does the same thing that he did that she was so upset about. So that's all I'll say about it, but I was just like, okay. So I didn't love the ending, unfortunately, but other than that, 4 stars. Really liked this one. So then I had to pick up a point horror book, and this is Mother's Helper by A. Bates. And if you like hidden pictures, then I think you'll really enjoy this one. So it had a lot of the similar vibes, and it's also about a girl who was a nanny for this little boy, and she is trying to protect him because something else is going on. And this one's pretty predictable. Like, it wasn't super twisty. I could see all the twists coming. But it's one of those books where I didn't really care. I didn't really mind that it was predictable because I just enjoyed the ride. I just enjoyed the story for what it was, and I enjoyed the characters. And so when I really enjoy the story and the characters, if it's a little bit predictable, I don't really mind as long as I'm, just there for the journey. And that was the case with this one. And so it definitely has, those eerie vibes to it. But this woman who's a nanny for this single mother, they're on this little island, so there's not a lot of people around. But I don't know, I just thought it was fun, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I will say towards the end, being in the main character's head became a bit annoying because her thoughts kind of got chaotic and over the top and dramatic, and it was kind of grating. So I didn't love that. But for the most part, I just thought this was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. I'd give it 4.5 stars. So then I read What Kind of Mother by Clay Malloy Chapman. And I don't know how I feel about this book. I keep thinking about it and thinking about it, which I guess is a good thing if you're still thinking about it. But it's like I really enjoyed it, and at the same time, I didn't. Like, I don't know. So I really enjoyed the first few chapters. I thought they were really fun. And then it started to drag a lot and meander, and I almost considered even DNFing it. But then I got to a section where we learn more about this baby and what happened to it. And that was very interesting, very heartbreaking, but very intriguing. And so then I got sucked in. And from that point on, I just flew through this book. So that is saying something. That is a good thing. And I thought it was very interesting. But at the same time, the twist in this book didn't quite make a whole lot of sense. I'm one of those people that need my supernaturalness to make sense. And you really have to suspend your disbelief with this one, because I'm just like, why would it be the way that it is? Which I know is very vague, but I don't want to give away spoilers. But so I don't know. I really liked it, and yet I didn't at the same time. I guess I need to tell you what this book is even about, but this is about a man and his son went missing, suspected kidnapped, and because of it, as a result, his wife committed suicide. And so for years, he's been trying to find his son. So our main character, she's a medium and she's a palm reader. And pretty much she's a scam, but she just likes to make people happy and make a living because she's also a single mother taking care of her daughter, who is all grown up now though. So she reads this guy's palm and he becomes convinced that she can help him track down and find her son. And like I said, you do find out what happens to the son, and it is very intriguing and interesting. But the ending is what I have the most issue with, because you set up these characters a certain way, and then I feel like they did a 180 and they don't act the way that they were set up. I almost feel like the dad and the mom almost reversed their roles, and so that was a little bit strange. And I felt like the motivations behind our main character's decision that she makes at the end was pretty weak. I didn't think it justified the decision that she made. That's my biggest issue, I guess, with this book, is just the ending and the motivations for our main character. It just seemed out of character, and like I said, it was like we're following the dad, and he's a certain way, and she's a certain way, and then all of a sudden they reversed roles for like no reason, and it was a bit jarring. It was a bit weird. So I think that part is probably my biggest issue with this book. And sometimes the writing style was a bit fever dreamish, like it was a little bit weird and disjointed at times, and so I didn't completely love the writing style in this one either, but I think that's pretty common for Clay Lloyd Chapman though, so if you've read other books from him, you pretty well know what you're getting yourself into with that. But I did enjoy it though, so I would probably still give this a 4-star, or maybe 3.5. Then I read All I Want by Darcy Bell. This is a thriller, and this is another one that was a little bit Rosemary's Baby-esque. So this is about a couple who move into this old dilapidated house because they discover that there's a theater in the house, and you hardly ever find a house with a theater attached, and the husband is a screenwriter, so he thought that was really cool, and so they jumped at the chance to live this house, even though it's a fixer-upper and a lot of work needs to be done. So the wife is pregnant, and she doesn't want to travel back and forth between the country and the city a lot just because she is pregnant, but he needs to be in the city for work because he's starting a new Peter Pan play that he's putting on, that he's directing, and so she ends up staying in the country by herself most of the time, trying to get the renovations done on this house. And a little bit of like creepy stuff happens, but you know, don't go into this thinking it's a horror novel, because it's not by any means. This is definitely a thriller. So there's like a few things where she thinks, oh, was that a ghost? You know, or I found this old journal in the attic, you know, but I don't know, it just didn't have the vibes to it. It didn't really go anywhere really. So I don't know. Those parts I felt were pretty weak. And then we got to the twist of the book, and I was just like, eh. And a big part of that twist didn't make sense. Like, why would you do that? Like, that makes no sense to me. So didn't like the first twist. And then there's a twist at the very, very end. And do yourself a favor, if you read this book, don't read the last chapter. It will absolutely ruin this book for you. Luckily, I was already forewarned ahead of time what to expect, because if I was just reading this on my own, even if I liked this book, that twist would have made this a 1-star, just automatically 1-star. But because I knew to expect it, it didn't bump it down to 1-star, but I still would probably give this maybe 2 stars, maybe 2.5 if I'm feeling generous, because a lot of this was just slow and meandering, and it's very short. It's like 250 pages, but I felt like it took forever to get through and to read. And like I said, the motivation behind the twist was just weird and weak, and the end twist is terrible. So it was just, I don't know, it was okay. And part of the twist too was like the same thing that happens in every single domestic thriller you ever read. If you read a lot of domestic thrillers, you know what I'm talking about. And at this point, it just makes me want to roll my eyes and yawn, because I'm just like, really? Again? We're doing this again? There's no other way to write a domestic thriller. So that was kind of annoying. So yeah, this just wasn't for me. This just wasn't my favorite. So the last book I read wasn't really a book. It was more of a short story, because it was only 65 pages long. But it was Palmetto by Anya Alborn, or Ania Alborn. I'm not sure how to say her first name. This is my first experience with this author, and it won't be my last. It was very well written. I thought she did a phenomenal job, and I really enjoyed this one. I'd probably give it 4 or 4.5 stars. So if you don't know what a palmetto is, because I didn't, I thought it was like a flower or a plant or something, which I think my friend said it was a tree, but in this case, it's like a cockroach. It's a bug. So that's good to know. So if you do not like bug horror, do not read this book because it is very centered on bugs and it's very gross and it will make you squeamish. And the way that this main character reacts to these palmettos is exactly how I would react to spiders. Cannot stand spiders. So, anyways, this one again is very Rosemary's Baby-esque. So, I kind of had a theme going for this month. And this pregnant lady and her husband move into this new house, and they start noticing an infestation in their house and they're trying to deal with it. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun, very well written, and I flew through it. So I would highly recommend you read this one. I was a little bit concerned because I think I paid like $4 or $5, which for a 65-page short story, I just feel like the price was a lot. So just know that going in. It is well written and it is very good, but I'm just not sure it's worth the price point. And other than that, that's all the books I read for the month of May. So let me know in the comment section below if you've read any of these books, if you enjoyed them, or if you didn't like them, just like I didn't like some of them. Let me know what you read in the month of May. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video so I know what you guys like and I can continue making this content. If you enjoy my channel, I would urge you to hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so that you'll always be notified when a new video comes out. I always post on Fridays, and I will catch you guys later. See ya!